Good evening, everybody. Obviously, this is the first time that I've done something like this. Coffee with Craigo. It's not coffee this late at night. I just would not get to sleep if I drank at night. So I'm just going to do a couple of little checks with the sound and the vision, and then we're going to kind of get into it. So if you are watching, it's a little bit windy, it's raining, hence I'm underneath the gazebo. I have got the fire going. This is not how I expected to do it. I expected to create a little campfire out there, but it's just a little bit wet and windy to be doing that. So I'm here, lovely little spot, and got my little tea here. So all I want to do with this is, I've been absolutely overwhelmed. Not overwhelmed, just it's been an unbelievable response to some of the videos that I put out, and I just cannot keep up with the amount of comments that are coming through, and some of them just really deserve a reply and just acknowledgement. So I wanted to come up with a way of just answering some of these questions where you can feel part of a community. You can hear from me a little bit, and I can answer some of these questions, because like I said, there's literally hundreds and hundreds of questions coming in all the time. So that's what I want to do tonight. So I can see your messages, your comments, so bring them up, post them underneath the video. I can bring them onto the screen. I'll answer whatever questions you've got, if any. And if I don't get any questions, I've got the YouTube, the channel with some of the comments and some of the videos, and I'll go through them and probably spend about half an hour. So that's what we're going to do. Excuse me. I've just about got hold of my cold now, so I'm no longer sick, which I'm really excited for, because I want to get back into running, training, fitness. For the next 14 days, well, not next 14 days, but for 14 days coming up, I'm really going to launch into it, do lots and lots of like initiators of action. I just want to get out of this little bit of a rut that I found myself in after this cold. So I'm going to do that. And of course, some of you, if you want, can join. And there's details under all the videos for that, if you want to join in and get a bit of support, a bit of accountability, but also be part of a bit of a tribe. Getting out of a rut if you feel a bit stuck. So that's what it's about. Right. So first thing I want to do is, in the UK today is Remembrance Sunday. Okay. Now, as a veteran, former member of the Royal Marines, it's a really poignant day today. And I did put a little bit of time aside today just to think about absent friends. Not only those who lost their lives in conflict and while serving in the military, but also since. And one of the big drivers for setting up this channel is the amount of people that are affected by male suicide and male mental health, of which we've all got. People talk about mental health like it's something you contract. We've all got mental health, just like we've all got physical health. We've all got it. It just has varying degrees of what the word, whether it's good or bad or whatever. So yeah, as this channel carries on, I'm going to be doing lots of stuff for men's mental health, and I want this to be a channel where people can come and they just know they're gonna hear something familiar, a little bit of a kick up the arse if they need that, but also some support and encouragement if they need that, and just to hear that there's lots of other blokes like them that are facing similar things. So I just wanted to kind of tip my hat, raise my mug to those people, those absent friends, those that fell during conflict. So that's the first thing I wanted to do. Right, so we've got a couple of messages coming in. Like I said, I can bring it up on the screen there. So Snowy is saying, I'll have to catch the replay. Happy Armistice Day to all the British soldiers, veterans, and mates out there from the US Army veteran era. US Army Vietnam era veteran. Wow. So, yeah, that was a tough old conflict, wasn't it? That was pretty shitty. But thanks, Snowy. And yeah, you'll be able to watch this back. And obviously, seems appropriate that yours is the first comment that I tackle. Brian, how are you doing? I noticed a couple of your comments. I said I'd watch out for them in the future. So I'm glad you're here. So all the way from Iowa City in Iowa. It's incredible to think that, you know, sat here in you know, the middle of the UK, and then there's someone the other side of the world in Iowa watching these videos as well. So welcome, and thanks again for commenting. I've been enjoying your videos. They've been resonating with me, and thanks, Brian. That means a hell of a lot, because that's all I want to do. I just think people, I think men, middle-aged men, you know, or even those heading to latter years, as I've found in some of the comments, can struggle with this idea of like feeling lost, lonely, you know, like they're on their own. You know, they might have loads of people around them, but they're on their own. They feel a little bit unheard or whatever. So to hear that the videos are resonating, one, it makes it all worthwhile. I do put a lot of effort into writing the scripts and to, you know, and to presenting the videos. I do rehearse it a fair bit. I don't know what your perceptions of the videos are and how they deliver them, but I do spend probably a lot of time writing the scripts and just trying to get the things that I believe in into the video, the little stories, the metaphors, the anecdotes, even the quotes and the phrases are all things that I've been saying, you know, for the last 20 odd years, which I try and get in the video. But we all know that feedback is the breakfast of champions. So if anyone's got any feedback, suggestions, ways to improve, things that you think I'm missing, you don't like the lighting, you don't like the setting, the sound, whatever, please let me know, because ultimately I just want to do more of this. We're talking about guys being lost. I was lost for a long time. When I left the Marines, I didn't really have too much of an identity. I didn't really know what I was going to do and what I should do, what I wanted to do. I fell in love with video, making videos, and I wasn't very good at it. But I just knew when I was putting videos together, time just seemed to stand still, and I got lost in it. And that's what I wanted more of. So the idea of doing YouTube like this, making these videos, sorry about the wind if it's blowing in the mic, it is massive to me. So thanks again for your comment. I'm a middle-aged 65, lol. 65, yeah. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? When I remember, you'll probably be able to speak better about this as well, Brian, but I remember when I was like 20 and I thought, bloody hell, 20. Christ, that seems old, you know, and then 30, like, bloody hell, 30, you know, and you're looking back at your 20s, and then 40 hits and you think, God, you know. And then someone put a comment on today on the channel that I just caught out of the corner of my eye, and it was something like, I now realize that midlife crisis is more of latter life, more in latter life than it is in midlife. And it just made me think, because a lot of these comments and a lot of these things that I see, they just often stop me in my tracks and make me think. And I just thought, wow, yeah, you know, he's obviously experiencing a similar thing to what I'm experiencing now at 48, approaching 50. And you know, people thinking the same. I wonder what. There was a guy, with it being Remembrance Sunday today, there was a guy, 100-year-old ex-Marine on the TV, and I wonder what he thinks. You know, I wonder what he thinks about life and his stage of life. And Brian, if you're still kicking around, like, I wonder, you know, how excited are you for the coming years? I mean, by rights, you could have years and years and years left to make a legacy or whatever, like, you know. And I wonder where you are in terms of you know, your future and what you're thinking about the future. So yeah, if you're sticking around, let me know. Fraser saying, great videos, I need a mission. Yeah, I genuinely believe that when people find a mission, things start to change. It's almost like a North Star, you know, like something you can just follow. You get pulled through life. I mentioned this in a couple of the videos now. But a mission is massive, but something you truly believe in. And you know, the thing for me is those people affected by male suicide. Every month now, I'm losing either a friend or a close associate to suicide. And I talk to my wife about it all the time. And, you know, I always say, look, you know, another lad's taken his own life today. And I don't want this to be all sad. And I'm sorry if it's coming across, that's not the intention. And my wife's like that. We've got to do something, Craig. We've got to do something, you know. And we're quite fortunate that where we are now. We've got a couple of cabins out the back, and I just think we can run, you know, retreats for people affected by male suicide. You know, like I think about the family that's left behind, you know, the friends that's left behind, and they just need to escape and just kind of gather the thoughts and process what's gone on, or even the lads themselves that are struggling, you know, just to come away and find a bit of solace. And you know, I've got amazing. My wife runs spiritual and holistic retreats, and there's so many different therapists. There's 3 in the kitchen chatting away over bloody cheese and biscuits in the minute. And they've got so many skills that I think if people struggling could just tap into that, then we could save lives, like literally save lives. Not one life though, because obviously we know that the ripples from one person taking their life is just felt over so many different people. And that's my mission at the minute. That's I just want to, you know, do something for that. And I don't really know how it's going to look yet, but I just know that's what it is. And I always describe it as like looking down a river. You know, when you're looking down a river, you don't know the route because you can't, you know, you can only see the first bend. You don't know the rest. You can't see the rest of the river. Okay. You've just got to trust that when you get to that corner, you'll then be able to see the next part of the river. And then when you get to the next corner, you'll then be able to see the next part of the river. And the route will emerge as long as you're moving forward. So Fraser, I really hope you find a mission. I hope that you can find something that's triggered in the videos or even the comments. Get through the comments. You know, people are posting stuff every day, which is really enlightening. And you find a mission and find something. One of the things that worked for me is obviously looking back on the struggles and the obstacles I've had myself. And that's kind of what I feel that I can talk strongly about. And all my videos are triggered by this, the experiences that I've had, and I haven't got anywhere near those experiences yet. I've had a turbulent adult life, let's put it that way. But with that brings a bit of knowledge, really, a bit of experience that I hope people resonate with, like we're saying there. So yeah, get yourself a mission, Fraser. Keep digging, get a bit of paper out, you know, clear, get everything out of your brain and find something. There's an exercise called the Ikigai, where you can kind of, it's like a Japanese process for finding your why, finding your purpose, and that can be quite illuminating. So have a look at that and let me know if you do find something. Great questions, by the way, so keep them coming. Hang on a minute, what's this one? So Brian saying, what a great question. I consider myself incredibly fortunate that I'm a really good spot right now and very excited about what's ahead for me over the next 35 years. Brilliant, Brian. Absolutely brilliant. Do you know, I'm excited to kind of, hopefully you'll keep us updated and let us know what's happening and what your plans are. It is really exciting. Who'd have ever thought an old guy like me would have started a YouTube channel? I've been on a journey creating videos that have been incredibly therapeutic. Yeah, it's mad. There seem to be more and more people that are just, you know, a little bit older that are turning to YouTube at the right time as well, because, you know, YouTube is going to take over traditional media. Everyone's got their own little production, you know, production company in the palm of their hands. You know, just do it on your phone or whatever. And you know, now is the right time. Brian, I want to check out some of your videos. Stick a link in the comments, and I'll share it on our community post as well. But good effort, and let us know what kind of videos you're doing. Right. Oh, there's a few more questions in, I thought. Depths of despair are hitting our people hard. It's time for our folk to tribe up and come together. We need community. You're right. We do need community. Communities, it's one of those buzzwords, isn't it, where we talk a lot about like community and what a community means and all that kind of thing. But you know, fundamentally, it's like looking after each other and people knowing that they can rely on you, you know, and we definitely need more than that, like tribing up, you know, which obviously, when you think of a tribe, you think of like a leader, and then different jobs for different people that suits what they do. Like, you know, whether it's the warriors, the hunters, you know, the homemakers, what even the medicine man or whatever, you know what I mean, the medical person. Yeah, you're right. You know, we need to be tribing up, a common aim, looking after each other, and especially for blokes. I genuinely think, you know, especially for blokes who they're not quick to talk about their issues. They're not quick to tell people that they're down for a whole host of different reasons. And we could probably spend hours talking about, you know, why men don't talk up, and why we think we've got to struggle on our own and just be strong all the time. Yeah. See, I know, just going a little bit deeper on that, one of my biggest strengths, if you do like the MBTI strength finder thing, my biggest strength is determination, right? Which is probably why I've done some of these big running events, and, you know, got a green beret in the Marines and all this kind of stuff, and loads of stuff like that, but determined. But you also realize with age that your greatest strength can be your biggest weakness if you do it too much. And I was very close to doing that. Very close to becoming too determined, too like stubborn and thick-headed to go, do you know what? I need help. And I nearly, you know, took my own life. And because I was doing my strength too much. And actually, when I realized that I was a little bit helpless and I needed some help, I got some counseling, completely changed trajectory of my life, completely did. And I always bear that in mind now. I'm always like catch myself thinking, am I being too determined here? You know what I mean? Do I run the risk of going down with the ship? And, you know, and I've really got to catch myself there. So anyway, the little random question for you guys: what is your strength? Have you done the old strength finder? What's your strength? And has there been occasions where it's almost become your weakness because you've done it too much? So let me know. Fraser saying, thanks, Craig. No problem. I genuinely mean it, mate. Get yourself a mission. Keep looking for it. Make it your mission to get a mission, and that'll help pull you through life. Excuse me. All right. Brian said, Craig, your video this morning on zooming in and shrinking the world was an excellent message. You have to take care of you first. Yeah, you do, don't you? I mean, there's so many metaphors when I was writing the script for that. I was thinking about putting your oxygen mask on in the airplane. You know, you got to save yourself before you can save somebody else. You know, and it's very easy just sort of thinking about everything else that's going on around you. Like, actually, hang on a minute, hang on. What do I need? Like, what do I what do I actually need now? And that comes from just bringing your attention in. And it sounds a bit woo-woo, doesn't it? You know, like I say, my wife is currently studying witchcraft to be a witch, right? Like I said, she's sort of trod a spiritual path for a long time, and this idea of bringing your attention in, it sounds very much like some of the woo-woo stuff that she would say, and that's not really my bag. However, you know, the idea of kind of just thinking, hang on a minute, right? Everything that's going on right now, what am I actually like? What's actually going on with me? But also, like, you know, instead of picking up your phone and scrolling through your phone and seeing what other people are doing, like, what's my intention for today? How can I have the best day that I can have? I was a bit unsure about that video. In fact, Brian, the next couple of videos going out, I'm a bit unsure about. It's slightly different. As I just try and, you know, if you obviously, you know, you do YouTube as well, and it's a fine line from like creating stuff that you want to create and creating stuff that people want to watch. It's a very fine line there, and it's a very brave person that just does what they want to do. I know there are some out there that do it and do it incredibly well. So I don't know if they'll land. I really don't. And to be honest, I don't care because I enjoyed doing them. But and I felt there were messages that I wanted to share. So, but I'm glad you found the one this morning. A strong message. Do you spend time outdoors to put problems into perspective? Also, have you watched GeoWizard's videos of hiking in straight line? Yeah, no, right. I've not watched GeoWizard's videos about going in a straight line. However, I love the idea of that. I was actually working on, because before I did that, I've had a couple of channels doing different stuff, and one of the things I always wanted to do, and I could never quite tie down the hook, the script, the thumbnail, all that kind of stuff, is I wanted to do. This is before I got like sick with the chronic fatigue and that kind of thing, but I wanted to do what I'd called the ramble. Right, the ramble was a cross between a run and a gamble. So the idea was that I was going to pre-warn my wife that at some point in the next 3 months, I'm going to do the ramble. And the idea was I was going to set off running, and I had to keep running until my wife phoned up to see where I was, right? So imagine like that. Now, my wife was already going, oh, she was already like rubbing her hands together going, don't you worry, I'll look after you, don't worry. I thought she's going to be running all the way to Scotland or whatever. Anyway, that's not the gamble bit. The gamble bit is at that point then, I can then say, please, can you come and pick me up? And if she can, or she's not willing, so if she can't or she's not willing, I then have to run home. Right. So that was the idea. That was the concept of the video. And I really wanted to do this. And I thought, bloody hell, what do I set off with? Because like, what if I end up like having to run overnight or sleep overnight or get water? How much water do I take? Food? You know what I mean? There's a real problem to kind of unpick there. And you can imagine the stakes that there could be in a video like that. And maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it one day just for a laugh and not necessarily worry too much about making a video. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about living off the land and what have you. But it's definitely put a little bit of an interesting spin. Anyway, so back to the GeoWizards. I haven't watched it, but I love the concept of it. And it said, do you spend time outdoors to put problems in perspective? Yeah, I do. And my big draw is water. I can sit. Men are like this, aren't they? Like men can find something and spend hours just like staring at it or chatting about it. Like, two blokes can stand around the back of a car talking about an alloy wheel for hours, or a barbecue, or something like that. And my thing is, like, if I can sit by the water and watch fish, right, that is my thing. In fact, there was a time, I'll tell you this story, and so I used to have this English bull terrier, right? So if you've watched Oliver Twist, the dog with the funny nose, I had a dog like that, mental. He was a rescue dog, really, like, just absolutely crazy. And at the time, I was desperately depressed, really was, and I wanted a companion, but I needed something that could handle. I used to get bouts of anger, I punch walls, and I was almost on self-destruct. My fire's going out. Just a minute. Let me just whack another log on there. Shit. Should have got more logs. I got this English bull terrier, hard as nails it was. I once saw it have a fight with a badger. And this badger just ran off yelping. I actually kicked this badger's ass. And he used to jump up onto the chair and chew my ear until I took him out, right? Because I just didn't want to leave the house. I was just like, I'll just fester here in my own shitty thoughts. I hate the world, right? But this dog would make me take it out. So I'd take him out. As soon as I got him outside, I'd let him off the lead and he'd just sprint off. And I'm like, no, come on. So I'd have to run after him, right? And he'd run all the way down this side of the river in this park. He'd pick up a massive branch and then he'd just run over this bridge on the other side of the river, run all the way down the other side of the river, cross another bridge, and then he'd jump into the water and just swim laps, right? It didn't matter what the weather was, whether it was freaking ice, you know, snow, rain, wind, whatever. This dog was going in the river, and I was like, you know. Anyway, I couldn't get him out. Well, I could. A couple of times I waited, and I was like, right, I ain't doing this today. And I'd drag him out, and I'd go home, you know. But quite often, I'd be like, well, I'll just wait. And I'd sit at the side of the river. And then I just started to think about stuff and started to process things that had gone on in the Marines and, you know, stuff that I was struggling with and my current thoughts. And I suppose a lot of people would call this meditating. I didn't call it meditating. I was waiting for the bloody dog to get out of the river. But a couple of things had happened there. One is I'd got outside, massive believer in getting outside and just, you know, like you said, putting a whole different perspective on your problem. Two, I'd done a bit of exercise. I chased him for a mile, right? As he was literally knocking kids out of the way. And I was like, his name was Oppo, right? So those that have got a military background will understand that, you know, the name Oppo. And he looked like a freaking stormtrooper, this dog, right? So he'd make me chase him. So I'd do a bit of exercise. And I don't know if it's video that's gone out today. No, I think it's gone out in a couple of days. But like just moving is massive for changing your mental state. And then it made me sit there by water, which is what I love to do, you know. But when you're in the depths of depression and shit like that, you don't do what you love to do. You fester and you have a little pity party in your own brain, you know, rather than doing the things that you think, you know what, that actually make me feel a bit better. You don't do it. So, but he made me do it. And that was a massive part of my recovery from that time in my life. So yeah, I do spend a lot of time outside. You know, when you do the videos and what have you, I'm genuinely cutting the grass. Today I've been like, you know, moving all the leaves and all this kind of thing and cleaning out the goats. I've got to do the chickens and that tomorrow. So I'm always doing something, you know, outside because it was Remembrance Sunday today. I didn't really want to speak. I'm not big on parades and marches and stuff like that. Some lads are. I'm not. And probably because I've never passed an inspection in my life. But anyway, and I didn't really want to speak to anybody. So I had the old leaf blower out. And I thought, well, I've never got the leaf blower out. No one can talk to me. But I was sure that 11 o'clock, I turned it off. And I just had a couple of moments there for lads that we'd lost. And, you know, and then got back to doing the leaves straight afterwards. So yeah, getting outside is massive for me, and I hope that comes across in the videos. Great question there. I don't know your name is ML Wiz. All right, I'll call you ML Wiz. Brian, you're a good storyteller. You could pat yourself on the back. Because I'm guessing around the campfire you share good stories and people like to listen. Yeah, I love telling stories. I've got some incredible stories. Some that I will absolutely take to the grave. But what I do want to do in the future is do some like proper speaking event, like you know, telling my story, because you know it is crazy. Everyone's got a story, haven't they? But I've got some stuff that you'll just be like, no way. I remember doing a talk before with a friend of mine who's very accomplished public speaker, and I went first, and afterwards you went, fucking, how the fuck am I gonna? No. Yeah, he was like, how the hell am I going to follow that? And I said to him, I don't think it really hit though. He went, oh, it did. I said, no, I don't think it did. I don't think people really thought much of it. And he said, no, trust me. They're still trying to process what you've said, you know. And so I always, you know, I've got to be careful sometimes. But yeah, thanks anyway, Brian. That's a nice compliment to get on a Sunday night. What a great idea. I might have to copy that, just take off running. I probably would only get a couple of blocks away before I had chin splints. Yeah, but this is what I thought, you know, if I do it once, I could just imagine loads of other people on YouTube doing it, you know, like the Goggins 4x4x48 or whatever it is, you know. And I thought there was some amazing stories come out of that, some brilliant stories. Anyway, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it. Right, so we'll be going about half an hour. And unless you've got any more comments and what have you, I'll have a look at some of the comments on the channel. Like I said, I would. Excuse me. Right. FYI, Post a video this morning based off your video of shrinking the world. Oh, brilliant! Right, I'll definitely check that out, Brian. I don't know if I can do it on here, can I? No, I can't. I thought I could click your name and have a look, but I can't. So no, no. I'm glad. I'm glad that it like people are taking it in, because you got to be really careful you don't become like some kind of preaching, kind of wannabe guru type thing, and that's not, that's not me. That, but I just, I like the fact that people are kind of listening to what I've said, and it's triggered some thoughts, and whether they've had to process it, put it into practice, or even, or even just chuck it out because it's not for them or whatever. That's just the fact that it's had that kind of ripple effect is massive. So thanks for letting us know. Right, so some of the other things. Right, so you should be able to see the screen. Hang on a minute. Right, here we go. So there's a couple of, I've just brought up like the little community tab here, and I'm going to read some of the questions. What's this one? So John, so I did this video Lost, so you kind of lost your edge, and when I filmed it, I was going through this like bit of identity crisis where I thought no longer an ultra runner, and I was preparing to run the length of the UK, do big ultra running in Namibia. I was going for a world record attempt, just loads of stuff, and then I got sick, and it completely changed my identity, and I felt lost. And I ended up buying this crappy old van, which lasted about 3 months before it blew up. And it was just me and my new dog, right? We call the adventure dog, and she's the least adventurous dog you've ever met in your life. But I absolutely love her to bits. So I did that video, and on the back of that, it's put, well, at least you got to do all those events. Some people like me had jobs where we rarely got a day off or made enough to ever travel anywhere. Which I don't know what to say about that, other than I think it's really easy to look at people and go, do you know what? He's had it really easy, and I can assure you I haven't. I mean, I started my own business through necessity. Really, I couldn't get a job for reasons that I won't go into here, but I will go into like if I ever did like a live talk. Couldn't get a job. I was unemployable. Couldn't get a job, and couldn't get benefits. I remember going to get benefits, and they're like, no, you got to do, I think it was like 9 weeks or something. You got to do 9 weeks. You got to register now, and then 9 weeks you come back and get your benefits. I was like, I ain't got 9 weeks, and then I was living homeless. I was living in the back of an old shitty van, and I literally started a little personal training business from the back of a van, and I used to use half the money to live, and I'd have, most nights they call it van life nowadays. It's quite trendy, but it weren't then. And I'd travel around, like half the time I'd just sort of live on the side of the street and all that kind of thing, and get washed in the river and stuff like that. And then the other half of the time I'd book into a campsite, and I always got this campsite where I knew there was an orchard there, and always loads of rabbits. So I'd fill up on fruit and trap a few rabbits and what have you, and that's kind of how I lived. And then used the other half of the money to pay for private counselling, because that's the other thing. I couldn't get counselling either. The NHS just in the UK just absolutely messed me about, and so in the end up I got private counselling, and I did that for about 4 months, living homeless, and then that personal training business then grew and grew, and then I met who became my wife, and we ended up opening up a residential boot camp. Somehow we managed to get the lease on a £3 million property, and we started running residential boot camps. We started running them every week of the year, up to 35 people at a time. We were a resident expert on a couple of TV programs, and this all stemmed from nothing. And I wanted to do the MDS, the Marathon des Sables, before I was 40. It was one of my big goals before I was 40. And I missed out. It's a ballot thing, so you put in for the ballot. I missed out, But there was a charity place. So I thought, right, I'll do it for charity. And the charity was Walking with the Wounded, which is a service charity in the UK. So I got a place with them, and that gave me some incredible opportunities. But I had to raise 10 grand to for the charity in order to get the place, and that was one of the hardest bits of money I've ever had to make, and it took the edge off the training and everything. So although I appreciate your comment, John, I think it was really easy to think, you know what, some people have got it easy, and I've not had it easy. I wouldn't wish some of the things I've gone through on anybody. So so that's what I've got to say about that. So right, so on this one then, I did a video, This Kills Men Like Us, and it's talking about comfort. Someone pointed out the fact that I arrived on a ride-on mower, and I thought, yeah, I can see the irony in that, but that's because the lawns they're not really lawns. The grassy areas around my house are big, you know what I mean? And as much as I'd love to get my nail clippers out and cut them by hand, I can't. I don't have the time, so I use a ride-on mower, and I love it. I love bobbing around on my ride-on mower. And there's anyway, so Brit Flip Top, great name. It's put, the longest journey begins with a single step, and it's right. I often talk about, people go, how do you get through some of these big challenges that you've done? And one step at a time, one moment at a time, 1 second at a time, if that's what it takes. But just concentrate on, same again, Brian, reducing it down, shrinking your world, and reduce it down to that very moment, and just get through that moment, because life is a series of moments, and the more we put these moments together, the further we get through life. And and that's what I believe. Nobody's Hero, it's a great name. When life's too much, do this: live in the past, depressed; live in the future, anxious; live in the present, and that's the sweet spot. And it's 100% true what you're saying there. If we think about the past, it can depress us, especially if we've had a real bright past. This idea of, in fact, what he's talking about here, it reminds me of a book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it talks about, the fact that zebras, they don't live in the past and they don't live in the future. They just live in the present. It's just like, right, eat grass. And then if a lion rocks up and chases the zebra, he's like, fuck, a lion, runs away, runs for his life. Once the lion is given up, he's like, I'm knackered, you're on your own, right? The zebra just goes back to eating grass. He doesn't think about it why me? Why did that lion choose me? Have I done something wrong? Is it the way I look? Is it the way that I spoke? They don't worry. They don't worry because they don't have the part of the brain. I'm actually making this up because I'm not like a brain surgeon or like that where they can think and imagine the future, which can cause anxiety. And so that's what it reminds me of. Great book. If you haven't read it, read it. Great comment. Thank you very much. Right, here we go. This is it. This is what I was talking about earlier. David Watts. I've come to realize the real aging crisis is the transition from middle age to old age, not the midlife crisis. I'm 68 and can see and feel its effects of time. On the other hand, I'm still fitter and stronger than 95% of men my age. You can't beat old Father Time, but you can delay him. Oh, that's fucking brilliant. I wish I'd come up with that. But maybe it takes 68 years of experience to get that kind of knowledge together. Absolutely brilliant, David. I love it. This idea of no one's ever beat Father Time. That was one of the first comments I got on these videos, and I thought, wow, that's brilliant. That it's right. It's always going to tick on. It's always going to tick on. There's this constant ticking, and but you can delay it. You can delay it by eating cleaner, being active. Just be careful of what toxins you put into your body, and still live your life. But you don't have to live like a Buddhist monk and all that. Or, like all these people that are doing this biohacking and all that malarkey. I'm happy with 100. This ex-Marine that was on the telly lived 100. I'm happy with 100. Yeah, I'll take 100. I'll take 100. I'm happy with that. So, and I think you could do that by just living a pretty balanced life and getting out. Don't We have this thing, don't we, in the Western world, where as you're getting older, people go, oh, settle down, you know, you get a bit older now, you sit yourself down. I'm like, no. Get up, move. Why? Because I want to be wiping my own ass at 90. You know, I don't want my kids wiping my ass. So if I can move, I can do some exercise now. If I can run and look after myself, eat relatively clean, don't drink too much alcohol, you know, connect with like-minded people, I'm on to a winner. You know, I'm on to a winner. So it's a great comment. Let me just check back and see if anybody else has commented on the thing. Thanks for sharing. Have a great day, mate. Usually I would stay, friend, 2:35 p.m. in Iowa. Take care. Thanks, Brian, and thanks for chipping in with your comments there. Right, let's have a little look at some of the others. Right. Motor Crusader. Good advice. Retired in 2018 from 30 years in the Marines. The X gets bigger in civilian life, and things trying to kill you are different, which is right. Got to keep moving. Just signed up. Brilliant. Yeah. Things trying to kill you are different. Andrew here, put absolutely spot on. We've all got to keep stretching ourselves and looking to learn more about ourselves and conquer our comfort zone. I saw someone write, curiosity is like stretching the brain, or something like that. Sorry if I've massacred your quote, but that was one of those, excuse me, that really, really stuck with me. And a lot of the things that you guys have been writing have really like touched me and will stay with me. You know, so much wisdom in there, which I think that's what you get when you put a load of guys together. You know what I mean? And that's definitely what I get, you know, through these comments and that. So yeah, great comment. Right, how are we doing here now? A couple of people. Right, guys, I'm going to start wrapping up. So we've done about 45 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think to this. Can we do a slightly different format? Different time, different day, scrap it all together, whatever. Feedback is the food of champions. So let me know. So on this Sunday night, I don't know what you're getting up for in the morning. I don't know if you're going into work, whether you're retired, you know, whatever it is. However, I just want you to know that Mondays traditionally have been some of the toughest days for people, for men, you know. Let this be a bit of a call to arms. You know, set your intentions tonight. Remind yourself of stuff to live, work, and graft for, and get up tomorrow and seize tomorrow. Don't let tomorrow. You don't want to be tomorrow's bitch, right? You're not Monday's bitch. You take charge of it, and let's all have a great day. So until the next video, and until we sit again around the campfire, take care and look after yourself and look after the blokes that are around you. And by the way, at the very, very least, don't be a